That article does not speak for this team in this locker room. I've had a lot of combos with my teammates in the past few days, and they are hurt and they are harmed by the article, and also they are disgusted by some of the things that were said in the article. We don't agree with the things written for a plethora of reasons, but mostly the undertones come across as transphobic and racist as well.
What a disgrace. What an absolute disgrace. This dump of a league is literally on life support. I talk about sports for a living. I had forgotten that the NWSL was still in business. Matter of fact, I originally passed on this story when I heard about it last week because I didn't think there would be enough interest in it. This dump is literally on life support. And the captain of the most popular team, and I use the term popular loosely here because there really are no popular teams in the NWSL. I have seen angels from God more recognizable than players from Angel City FC, and angels from God, for the most part, are invisible to the human eye. With this league circling the pooper, with a litany of problems facing the NWSL, the captain of the most popular team in the league is focused on inclusion? The captain of the most popular team is focused on advocating for men to invade the NWSL? Who in the Rudy Poo are you? Do you not understand that if men are allowed to play in this league, you're not going to have a job? I don't understand it. Captain Doofus is advocating for her own demise. You know, earlier this morning, I was getting my morning coffee. I drink 3 cups of coffee every day, and I always get the coffee from the same place. So naturally, I know all the people working there by name. Most of the employees are women, and I was talking to one of my favorites earlier this morning. She was venting her frustration. She was telling me how she was looking for another job. She was complaining about the constant drama. She was telling me how all the women wanted to boss everyone around. They're constantly in everyone else's business. They're constantly talking behind everyone else's back. I have been frequenting this place for years, and I told her, it's never going to change unless they hire a bunch of dudes. Anytime, and I mean anytime, you get a group of women together for a sustained period of time, there's going to be fights. There will be arguments. There will be drama. Think about most reality shows on TV. They're primarily focused on women. Most men, we aren't worried about your business. We're not worried about your problems that don't affect us. Women make your problems their problems. I tell my wife this all the time. The vast majority of her stress at work, it comes from her worrying about other people's problems, correcting mistakes made by other people. Why are you correcting their mistakes? Well, if I don't, they will get fired. Who gives a damn? When you have a league full of women, you are guaranteed to have drama. And look, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Matter of fact, it's something that the league should exploit. No one talks about the pretend basketball in the WNBA. The vast majority of storylines in the league, they're centered around the jealousy of Caitlin Clark. Or the mainstream media trying to convince us that Angel Reese is a huge star. Or the constant complaints from unknown WNBA players demanding to be paid what we're owed. None of that has a damn thing to do with pretend basketball. It's the same with the NWSL. Here on the channel, We have not talked about this turd since Meg Rapinoe retired 2 years ago. No one else is talking about it either because ratings and attendance are circling the pooper. The NWSL averaged 189,000 viewers per game this season. The most watched game, 357,000 viewers. But now, the drama has the NWSL back into the mainstream. Unfortunately, the drama they're creating is not sustainable because if NWSL players have it their way, the acronym will soon stand for Not Women's Soccer League because women will have their jobs taken by dudes. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Link to the second channel in the description below. You do not want to miss today's video on the second channel. I have been a diehard, loyal fan of the New Orleans Saints my entire life. Last season, I gave up on the Pelicans. I'm sure you guys have noticed the deflated Pelicans ball here behind me. I refuse to put in the effort to refill it with air. Why should I put in the effort when Gail Benson doesn't give a damn about the team? Unfortunately, I don't think Gail Benson really cares about the Saints either, and I can no longer waste my time supporting indifference and incompetence. I'll explain why, so click the link in the description below, subscribe to the second channel. Elizabeth Eddy has been playing in the NWSL for 11 years. When she started her career, NWSL games were being live streamed on YouTube. Here in the next 2, maybe 3 years, their games will be returning to YouTube because no one is watching them on television. The networks are paying $240 million for 189,000 viewers. I don't think I need to sit here and explain why that dog won't hunt. Last week, Elizabeth Eddy published an op-ed for the New York Post. She was pressuring the league to implement gender standards. Now, obviously, this should not be an issue. My 6-year-old nephew is old enough to understand that the National Women's Soccer League should be a league filled with women. But there's a player in the NWSL, a dominant player, whose gender is being questioned. Well, KC, does she identify as the Q in LGBTQ? Hell if I know. It's entirely possible that she identifies as plus, or maybe she identifies as two-spirit. Hell, knowing this league, she might identify as the @ sign. But all kidding aside, there are questions surrounding the gender of Barbara Banda. 3 years ago, Barb was deemed ineligible to compete in the Women's Africa Cup of Nations. Why? Because Barbara failed a gender verification test. Food might be difficult to find in Ethiopia, but they're damn sure proficient in finding gender tests to ensure players are biologically female. Over here in America, those gender tests seem to be hard to find. Barbara Banda has been subjected to harassment by the half-dozen fans who bother to show up to NWSL games. Now, whether Barbara Banda is a biological female, I really don't know. Some sources claim Barbara is, others question it. Either way, this is not about Barbara Banda. This op-ed from Elizabeth Eddy, it was about ensuring that only women are allowed to play in the NWSL. Now, this should be something that the other women in this league should support, right? Unfortunately, Elizabeth Eddy isn't being supported by her own teammates. Last Friday, the LAPD organized a press conference. They had successfully located 2 women on the missing persons report, and they were trying to reunite them with their families. Both women were teammates of Elizabeth Eddy for Angel City FC. One of them was the team captain, the leader. They used this joyous occasion, they used this moment of celebration to condemn Elizabeth Eddy for having the audacity to keep the NWSL exclusive to women. Watch for yourself.
The article calls for genetic testing on certain players, and it has a photo of an African player as a headline, and that's very harmful. And to me, it's inherently racist, because to single out this community based on them looking or being different is absolutely a problem.
I think of Angel City. I think of a place that was founded upon inclusivity and love for all people. That's what our locker room is. That's what our staff is. That's what our fan base is. Angel City is a place for everyone. It always will be.
If you had your woke bingo cards, I'm sure most of you guys hit bingo. Inclusivity, transphobic, mythical racism, feminine wiener, love for all people. Oh, I got bingo! Did I win tickets to the Bongo Festival? I have no problem with women's leagues leaning into the drama. Hell, you gotta find some way to generate interest. Gotta find some way to get people to watch your product. It's difficult to do that with the product on the field, so lean into the drama. The dramatics elevated the WNBA from being a steaming turd to being a polished turd. It worked. But the drama the NWSL is leaning into, it is leading to their own demise. Had the NWSL ignored this op-ed in the New York Post, no one would have noticed. This would have been a non-story. But because these two ladies lit the spark, it created the flaming ass fire. Why is this so difficult to understand? If men are allowed to play in your league, there will be no women. Last night, Clay Travis, he offered to financially back a new franchise in the NWSL. The team is going to be based in Nashville. I think they're going to be called the Nashville Stash, because every player on the roster is going to have a mustache. Since Clay Travis is being so generous, since he is willing to front the cost to launch the team, Uncle KC is willing to cover the cost for the salary cap, which in the NWSL, I believe the salary cap is around $25 per team. The problem is, I don't think we can get professional male soccer players while splitting $25 between them, but that's okay. We don't need professionals. We just need dudes. We need dudes from the local rec leagues. Hell, we could use young men on the local high school team. These young men, they would go undefeated. They would win the NWSL title. It would be the greatest dynasty the NWSL's ever seen. You know, 3 years ago, we were told that the NWSL was taking over. This league is amazing! This is must-see TV! 3 years later, the NWSL is get off my TV. No one is watching this league. No one cares about it. The only reason the NWSL was growing 3 years ago is because Megan Rapinoe was generating interest. Yes, she was generating interest for the wrong reasons, but you can't deny the fact that Megan Rapinoe was generating interest. That is the formula for these women's sports leagues. It is incredibly difficult to generate interest based on the product alone. You need the drama, you need the storylines, but you can't embrace storylines that will put you out of work. You can't embrace storylines that will lead to your own demise. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys later.